Let's make a one-page dungeon for your next campaign. Hi, my name is Nick and I like to nerd out over TTRPGs. If you want to nerd out with me, then you should go down there and headbutt that like and subscribe button. And if you want to check out more of my content, you can go down to the link in the description below to check out my Instagram, my Discord server, and my Patreon if you want to support me further and join our community. I'd really appreciate it. Now, let's move on to making our first one-page dungeon. If you don't know what one-page dungeons are, or you're excited to make one for the first time but you don't know why they're so useful, I would recommend you go check out my last week's video right here, or it'll be pinned at the end of the video. And if you wanted to check it out, I'd really recommend learning why one-page dungeons are great and the benefits of using them for your campaign prep. Now that you know what a one-page dungeon is and why it's so important, let's talk about the system we're going to be using today to make our one-page dungeon. So I found this great clip of this journal page entry of some artist on Reddit, I'm pretty sure. I don't know exactly where I found this, but I love this checklist for creating your dungeons and making them interesting. So we're going to be using this checklist today. It'll be on screen now. And it's got a great list of 10 things to put in your dungeon. So the dungeon checklist says 1 is something to steal, 2 is something to kill, 3 is something to kill you, 4 is a different paths, 5 someone to talk to, 6 something to experiment with, 7 something they probably won't find, 8 environmental hazard, that's a bonus round, 9 puzzle, trick, or roleplay challenge, 10 one thing that makes no sense at all, and then they have a 5-room dungeon example. The map on this example is really great. I love that there's an entrance with a guard, a puzzle/RP challenge, a trick or setback. The climax is not the final room, but then we have an extra bonus room for the rewards and revelations, and there's a threat. And I like that they used the different pathways on this very small 5-room dungeon, and they compacted it, and there's a lot going on in it for their very basic baseline example. So we're gonna actually take this dungeon and we're gonna fill it with our own stuff, and we're gonna try to hit all of these points on this checklist today to see how fast we can do it and pack in as much information as we can. Before I talk to you about what's on the checklist, I want to talk to you about the theme that I based my dungeon on, which was a Skyrim dungeon. I've been playing a lot of Skyrim lately and I love it, so I'm going to be making my dungeon as a basement of a tavern that's been infested with giant rats and spiders, and so just have that in mind as I go through my list. So the first item on my list is going to be lost and found. So there's going to be a dagger and a magical cloak, and they're going to be pretty funny and have maybe some funny powers, but they're going to be found in a lost and found down in the basement. I think it's funny to have a lost and found in a fantasy setting, so that is going to be the unusual thing at number 10 as well. And then we have number 2, which is something to kill. So we have 2 giant rats. We're actually doubled that, and we're going to have 4 giant rats, and we're going to have a few medium spiders. We're going to have some spiders as well to crawl around. And number 3, something to kill you. We're going to have that be a giant spider and a necromancer. The necromancer is going to be actually the big twist as well later on in our list. Number 4 is going to be multiple paths. We've got that covered with the map we're using. Number 5 is going to be somebody to talk to. We're going to have a bartender actually wrapped up from the giant spider, and he's going to be trapped, and so he can be saved, and the PCs can talk to him and maybe have a funny interaction there. Number 6 is going to be something to experiment with. We're going to have a secret entrance. One of the entryways is going to be a spider web wall, so you'll have to cut through the wall to figure out how to get in to the spidery area unless you go to the necromancers first. So maybe that'll be a funny interaction, a fun moment. And then number 7 is going to be something they probably won't find. So for this, I'm going to actually have soul gems, and they're going to be hidden in a crack behind a tapestry in the necromancer room. So soul gems are just a very useful item to get in Skyrim. That's why I'm using them here, but it could be anything, and it doesn't have to be in a crack, and it doesn't have to be behind a tapestry. Just think of interesting ways to hide your items. Probably better than my example here, hopefully. Number 8 is going to be an environmental hazard as a bonus round. So throughout this dungeon, I'm actually going to have bear traps laid all over the place, like the tavern owner was trying to use them to capture the giant rats. Number 9 is going to be a puzzle, a trick, or a RP challenge. So for this, the trick is going to be that the necromancer is going to be playing it up as if they are trying to run away from the spiders, and they're scared of the spiders, but they're going to actually turn on the PCs and try to kill them and take their loot. And then number 10 is going to be one thing that makes no sense at all, and that's going to be the lost and found. So we have finished our checklist. Now let's get on to drawing. With this drawing, I really wanted to just have fun, just sketching up a little map for myself, for my personal use. So whenever it comes to drawing your own maps, it really depends on you, on how detailed you want to draw it. I like to add a little bit of environmental to show the vibe of the room. So drawing the spider webs on the walls just makes you feel like it's going to be sticky and gross in there, and that just little bit of detail for me allows me to describe it to my players a little better whenever I'm thinking about what's going on, and maybe having a little bit of fun with drawing your pictures, like with this wizard squatting down all crazy, this necromancer. But you could have these dungeons be drawn with just empty rooms with just the lines, and then numbering the rooms and writing all the information down on another page. But for this, I decided to draw out all of the stuff that was going on, and I decided to name this map the Infested Tavern. Very basic, yes, but if it's going to be in a pile of other one-page dungeons, it'll be great fitting in there with the rest. You could write out all of the information in the crevices between the rooms, but I'm done here. Well, this is the end of the video, and if you made it here, I really appreciate it, and I would really appreciate it if you went down and gave me a like and subscribe, and if you checked out my Instagram and my Discord server and my Patreon. I'm going to be posting this dungeon on my Patreon for free, so you can just go check it out and become a free member, and you'll be able to get it. So if you did, I'd really appreciate it, and making this was really fun, and it's so easy to just make them and draw them and have your checklist out, and you can have even just that printout of the download that I'm going to be putting in the description of that checklist, and you could have this map, and you could have just made the blank version, and then you could put the information on another page. It's that easy to just have a ton of empty maps and have your own maps that you've made and have them be interesting, and then just changing a few things. Instead of bear traps, make it glass jars everywhere, and if you stumble too hard, they crash everywhere and you're too loud, and maybe goblins come and chase you. Instead of them being giant rats, they're goblins. You know what I mean? It's that easy and simple to switch around on its head and make it feel like a totally different location. And so, if you enjoyed this video, thank you for making it all the way here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.